Hello, thanks so much for tuning in. My name's Jamie. Today I want to talk about something that has come up for me that has made my path a lot easier to think of things this way. And I think, it's so easy as humans to get caught up in the destination, in the outcome, in the goal that we have for ourselves that we sometimes miss the journey or sometimes get more down about our path because of our journey, and we're just so focused on that destination. And yeah, I think one of the biggest things for me is realizing like doing things just to do them is good for us and is good for the world. Doing things just because they're fun, just because they're new, just because we want to is enough. Like, we don't have to achieve anything other than that, than just having fun and doing fun things and doing things that make us feel more alive and doing things that light us up. That is the end result that we really need in order to shift ourselves and grow and change and evolve and peel away the layers that disrupted our own authentic frequency. So one of the things that came up for me recently is during a freediving course. So I was really excited to take this freediving course. I was so excited to get the certification. I envisioned trips in the future and diving with friends and just the whole thing. And ever since I was a kid, every summer in our above ground pool, I would practice holding my breath all summer long. And by the end, I could swim multiple laps without coming up for air. So I just would get better and better as the summer went on. And no one knew I was doing this. No one. This was one of those kid experiments that you just do on your own. And my dad only found out about it this year when I told him. But one of my favorite things also was to jump off the diving board in the deep end at the public pool and either touch the bottom with my feet or turn around and touch the bottom with my hands. And my ears would hurt and I'd swim back up. And one of my favorite feelings in the world is swimming straight up through deep water. So I was so excited about this freediving course. Now, mind you, I had not been practicing holding my breath before this course. I just went into it completely cold, not even fully knowing what it was going to entail, but I was just like all about it. And yeah, the first 2 days were great, and then I started getting a little nervous about my breath hold because I realized I was holding my breath on land for about a minute and people around me were holding it for a minute and a half or more. And I was told at one point that you have to hold it for a minute and a half in order to pass the certification, get your certification. So I was in my head about that. So going into my ocean day, I was like nervous about that. Completely oblivious to the fact that I was going to have issues with equalizing. So I had never learned how to equalize. I never knew about that. Nothing. I would just dive down, kind of get where it would hurt, and I would go back up in my own life. And yeah, so I was having issues with equalizing. So when I was going head first, I could only go so far, and then I couldn't get my ears to pop. So my instructor tried different things, and like I even went down just like this on the rope. Even tried equalizing the whole time, just using one hand. And at times I was having to stop and equalize, go up a little more, equalize, go back down, equalize, which uses a ton of energy. And I just kept doing it. I kept trying over and over to get it. And in the end, I couldn't get below 7 meters. It just wasn't happening. So the way I started viewing things the night before, I'd come across something that said everything is just experience. And when you look at things that way, you get less in your head about the outcome and you can enjoy it more. So for me, I allowed myself to just enjoy the ocean and river day and just enjoy it for what it was, that I was getting to be in the water all day, that I was getting to try this new thing, that I was getting new skills, that I was pushing myself in new ways, and that I was finally getting to do this thing that I had long been wanting to do and try. So yeah, I think that's been a huge shift in my thinking that's allowed me to have a lot more happiness in what I'm doing instead of looking at it as just this outcome that you want and maybe getting it, maybe not, but just looking at everything that we do as something to try and something to do just because we think it's fun, right? And we don't often think to do something like freediving because, we think it'd be fun and we just want to try it. you know, you spend the money and you want the certification. I totally get that. But I've come to be at peace with it, and knowing that I can go back to that diving school at any point and try again in the future if I want to. But I don't even feel super like I need to do that. I feel like, okay, I did it, I had that experience, and now I'm moving on with what I've learned. And my instructor sent me a few videos and suggested some tips for me to try. And so, yeah, before I would do a course again, I would totally be practicing all of that to set myself up for success, right? But yeah, I think in this human experience, we get so focused on the end result. Another example that just came to me is when I was a wildlife field biologist, I did so many different jobs around the United States, like living outside, hiking, camping, backpacking for work. It was amazing. I got to see some beautiful, beautiful places that a lot of people don't get to see, let alone work in. And I remember doing salmon spawning surveys in Oregon, and you'd go and you'd walk the stream in the winter and you're like counting fish essentially. And how amazing is that? I got paid to go count salmon in these beautiful streams in Oregon in the mountains. But at the time, I was like focused on getting elsewhere. Like I was on some kind of career ladder in my mind to get to higher pay and more stability. And I think in a lot of ways, like, I enjoyed it for sure, but I always saw it as like a stepping stone, not as the end result. And looking back, I can see how amazing it is to get paid to do something like that. And that's just one example of how we can get so caught up in some other place, in some future point, in some future goal that we have for ourselves, in some idea about, you know, getting to more money or more stability or whatever it is that we have envisioned for ourselves. We can get so caught up in that and lose sight of the now, of this moment, of the journey, of the path that we're on, of the amazing experiences that we're getting to have, because we did it. We were willing to go out on a limb and try something new. We were willing to put ourselves out there and do a job that, you know, put us in nature all the time. Like, that in itself is beautiful, and having the experiences that we have is beautiful. So yeah, I encourage you to, when you're trying something new, to just do it for the sake of doing it, without any expectation, without any idea of like where you want that to take you in the future, but just being present and enjoying it now. Being present, enjoying the ocean now. Being present and enjoying pushing yourself to do new things, to learn new things. So I hope you have a beautiful day, and I'll talk to you later.